Hi, I'm Doyle Bishop with Tulsa Heaters Midstream. On this channel, you can expect to hear about all things related to process heating, but sometimes the topics aren't technical, but most of the time they are, so thanks for joining. Okay, I want to talk to you about thermal oxidizers. About 3 years ago, we said, hey, let's get in the thermal oxidizer business. We have members of our staff, including myself, that have a pretty big background in combustion and thermal oxidation. And so I just want to talk in general terms about what does thermal oxidation look like? Why do you do it? What's it for? So in the making of refined products, something that you want to sell, that you want to use, many times you end up with a waste stream that you don't have a need of and you have to get rid of. There's two ways to do that, or really three. There could be a recovery. Hey, I'm going to recover that and try to get usable, sellable products out of it. I'm going to flare that, or I'm going to incinerate that, or put it into a thermal oxidizer. So I want to talk to you really about thermal oxidizers, but first let's talk about the potential for flaring it. So flaring it is, hey, I'm going to put it in this stack, and then I'm going to just have an open flame with this waste stream. So for this to work, one, I have to have a waste stream that can burn by itself. It has to be self-sustaining. So it has to be a gas that will burn without any help from anything else, because typically a pilot is up here just to keep it lit. But if it won't self-sustain in combustion, it won't work in a flare. The other thing about a flare, and I'm going to write flare under here, the other thing is typically a flare only destructs anywhere from 95, maybe up to 99% of the waste gas. It doesn't get, obviously, all of it. Nothing gets 100%, but thermal oxidizers can get significantly higher than 95%. Typically, a thermal oxidizer, I'm going to just call it a TO, can achieve something like 99.99% destruction. So they do a lot better job of burning the waste, getting rid of the waste than a flare will do. So one question might be is, okay, what's in that waste that you really need to burn? So typically it's some kind of hydrocarbon, which would be, let's say, methane or ethane or butane, propane, or it can be some really bad actors like H2S, right, which is really dangerous. H2S in ppm levels can be fatal. So there can be some hydrocarbon with a little bit of H2S, and then a lot of times there'll be inerts, what we call like inerts, which would be CO2 or nitrogen, which this won't burn. These don't burn. This burns, but a lot of times you have so much CO2 that I can't put it in a flare. It's not self-sustaining. So at that point, you really have no option but to put it into a thermal oxidizer, or you possibly could enrich it enough with natural gas to burn it in a flare. But that's really expensive. So typically, if you have a waste stream that has high CO2 with a little bit of hydrocarbon, some H2S, you're going to put that in a thermal oxidizer. So what goes on in a thermal oxidizer? What's happening there? So what happens is, one, the premise is hey, I'm going to make a box or a cylinder that's refractory lined, meaning, hey, it's going to hold the heat in. And then I'm going to have a burner on it that might use natural gas. And then I'm going to inject the waste gas, okay? I'm going to inject the waste gas into the flame. So what happens is the waste gas comes in here, encounters this flame from the burner, and it gets really hot in here. I mean, it gets upwards of, depending on how you design it, 1400 up to 1600 degrees F. Most hydrocarbon has a auto ignition in the range of 1100 degrees, in that range, maybe 1000 degrees is auto ignition. So what happens is I'm going to have, if you think of it like an oven, I'm going to have an oven that I get up to 1400 degrees, and then I'm going to dump waste gas in there. And guess what? At 1400 degrees, with some air to go in there with it, I'm going to burn all the waste gas. So some of you have probably heard, of course, you got to have a stack, right, coming out of here so this can exit out. Some of you guys have heard the 3 T's of combustion, or the 3 T's of incineration, or the 3 T's of thermal oxidation. And they are time, temperature, and turbulence. Okay, that's the 3 T's. You need this 3 T's of combustion to be able to do a good job and get that 99.99% or higher destruction of that waste. So I need time, meaning, hey, I need to let it bake for a while in here. I need temperature. I need 1600 degrees, so I need a high temperature, and then I need turbulence. I need it to be well stirred so that every molecule of waste gas that can be burned sees a molecule of air or oxygen coming in to be burned. That's thermal oxidation in a nutshell. Hey, thanks for joining. If you enjoyed this episode, hit like or subscribe to get more information about process heating and Tulsa Heaters Midstream.